Welcome to this episode of Junk Food on the Road. Today we are going to talk about our recent trip to
Vietnam. So you've been to Vietnam before, right?
I had a long time ago.
So why don't we start actually with that? What was the most memorable snack or food that you had?
Okay, so I stayed in this old school hotel because back then that's all they had. It was a year after they'd opened to tourism for the first time in 30 years or 20 years or whatever. And so I stayed in this hotel that was kind of like Apocalypse Now. I felt like Martin Sheen with like the ceiling fan and everything. But then you would step outside of that sort of historic, kind of grimy hotel, and you'd turn left and you'd walk down the street half a block, and there was this woman with a cart with the fluffiest, butteriest croissants I have ever had in my whole life. And it was absolutely phenomenal. It cost me 5 cents Canadian for my breakfast every morning. I would get a croissant. It was big, fluffy, buttery, melt in your mouth goodness, and I've never had a croissant like that since. And that was my big it was my every morning in Saigon.
I will say, I mean, this is many years later. They had several croissants there, and they're very good still. I don't know if they're like the best in the world, but like obviously there was some magic with that too. It's like street food too. Like, you know, certain street food things just are better.
Yeah.
And so I just think that. But
the street croissants I saw, because of course now that I'm allergic to sugar, I don't really do that anymore. But I saw them, and I don't think they held a candle to the ones I had in the 90s.
But we had some hotel ones and stuff that were pretty good while we were along the way. So
that's good.
The reason why like baked goods and stuff like that were so good is because French used to occupy at least a portion of Vietnam. Did they do that?
I think they occupied Vietnam plus.
Okay. So
it was Indochina.
Okay, so
the Indochine.
Indochine. So the French pastry's still pretty good.
Yep.
Like, and still a thing. Like lots of bakeries and everything like that, and French food. We did a lot of steaks and things like that.
We did a lot of Mexican food.
I guess we could start there. Like our first trip, we started in Ho Chi Minh, and we worked our way up to Hanoi on land the entire time without flying, which was kind of a challenge.
A mix of trains and automobiles.
Yes, mixed trains and automobiles. But we started in Ho Chi Minh, and the thing that we came across after an insanely long walk and trying to find, we found it. There was the Vietnamese coffee thing where there was all these different weird coffees. A lot of them had condensed milk in them. Some of them had eggs in them, but we can get into that later too.
We will.
But then our first, after this long walk, we sort of stumbled across this Tex-Mex Mexican restaurant.
Across the street from our hotel.
Across the street from our hotel.
Or just down the street, about a block and a half away.
And so we got, and it was our, in Ho Chi Minh City, that was our,
the problem was there were 3 of us traveling together,
mm-hmm.
and I'm allergic to sugars and fish pastes, all that stuff. And our other traveling companion is celiac.
Yes.
So also could not eat anything with gluten. So we spent a lot of time in Mexican restaurants.
And steak restaurants.
Which was awesome
mm-hmm. But we discovered this one that was really good. And it's funny because I did get some Mexican food while I was there, but one of the things that I fell in love with that they had there is they had like this variety of macaroni and cheeses in as many flavors as possible. And I had a Big Mac and cheese, which was basically Big Mac ingredients in a macaroni and cheese, but they blended it really well. And I will say ground beef and the sauce from Big Mac sauce, it works really well in mac and cheese. But the real surprise was that it was filled with pickle slices, and it was really good. Mac and cheese and pickles is really good.
Amazing.
And they had lettuce too, which was nice because that cut into the mac and cheese a little bit and sort of softened it, like it gave you a bit of vegetable, a little bit of liquid, because mac and cheese can be pretty heavy sometimes.
I know that we only went 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
But for the life of me, I can't remember if you had any sweet treats at that restaurant because we ate there like
I had
3 or 4
churros
times.
once.
How were those?
Yeah, they were okay. I'll be honest, and maybe, I mean, this is sort of on topic, but sort of not. I like churros, but I can't ever think of a time where I've had a churro where I'm like, I need to eat more of these things in my life. Like, I've enjoyed them, and if I'm at a place that, you know, sells them, like, you know, I'll get them. But I don't think I've ever had a churro that's blown my mind.
Maybe we should go to Madrid.
There's apparently a place in Spain. There's this woman who like makes churros in the morning, and like once she runs out, but she runs out in like half an hour.
My churro experience about 20 years ago in Madrid was fantastic.
Okay, so maybe keep an eye out for the episode of Junk Food on the Road Spain to
the churro edition.
The churro edition, see if it actually works out.
Yeah.
But for now, so it was okay. Like I said, I've had okay churros. You know, I've had like everybody says like Disney churros are good, and I've had them, and they're like, they're okay, they're good. Okay. But like, I wouldn't go to Disney for a churro. So it's like, you know, fine. But for me, the mac and cheese there was really fun. And they had a whole bunch. I tried a bunch. The big mac and cheese was the one that, you know, put a smile on my face.
It's kind of different and interesting.
Yeah. That was good.
It was like a Mexican, Tex-Mex, and other fusion.
Yeah.
They had Chinese food, I think. And it was funny because usually when you go to a restaurant that's got a big mix of different types of cuisine, you're like, oh no, I'm in for a horrible experience, because usually you just get like they're very, very good at one thing. They may be okay at other things, but very, very good at one thing. But this one, I think they hit it out of the park. Pretty much any cuisine we tried at it.
Although I think we only got Mexican and macaroni and cheese.
Oh really? I thought somebody had done something different. We went to another Mexican restaurant, I believe in Hanoi.
Yeah, and it wasn't great.
It was terrible.
I mean, it was good, but it was the tiniest portions.
Yeah, it was definitely not a bang for your buck. That's for sure.
No, it wasn't great. So, but this place was good, and we did notice Mexican food in Vietnam in general. Like, we went to a taqueria. The taco place was okay. The one we went to in
Hue.
No.
Hoi An.
That was okay.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was quite good.
Yeah.
We could eat.
I had
like
a cactus
corn.
taco.
Yes, you did.
That was good.
Yes, with some interesting spicing on it.
Yeah, it was all pretty good. So, you know, if you're in Vietnam and you're thinking I don't really want to go Vietnamese food, which is, I will say I had pho. I had pho, banh mi's. We counted banh mi places at one day and lost count because there's banh mi everywhere.
We got to about 60.
Yeah.
And then like that first half hour was over.
Yeah. So I tried some of all of those, and with great luck. The best pho I think I had was we were driving at one point and we just ended up at this. It was at a Pearl, like it was near like a oyster farms, and it was this place, the Lagoon 2 restaurant.
Yes, I had a scrambled egg.
So I had
it was good though.
I had some pho there, and it was really nice. But I feel like the environment helped it a lot, because we were at this like along the sea. It was cold and rainy. We were all kind of wet and miserable, and I just had a warm thing of soup, and it was really nice.
I got coconut coffee.
Yeah.
Which I had a very positive coconut coffee experience when we visited Laos, and so I thought, well, I would try it in Vietnam, and man, did it not work out for me at all.
Yeah, you had a tough time getting a good coconut coffee.
Yeah, because you tell them don't put any sugar in it, and then you get it and it's super sweet.
Because they put condensed milk.
And because they put condensed milk, they have no idea that condensed milk has sugar in it.
Yeah, it's just.
It's like I had to reorder it, I think 4 or 5 times before they got it right.
Just put coconut milk.
Just put coconut milk. And I had that trouble somewhere else looking for coconut coffee.
Yeah.
And I went to the place in Hoi An. There was a really good coffee place up the street from our hotel, and they didn't get it wrong, but for me to explain just coffee and coconut milk please took like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
They're like, well, what about this? And it's like, no,
Wasn't that
just
Hawaii?
coffee. Was it Hawaii?
That sort of fancy place that was up the street, that was around the corner from
Was
the hotel.
that in Hawaii?
Yeah, that was in Hawaii.
I thought that was in Hoi An.
No, Hoi An, because Hoi An we stayed at that little resort on that little street.
Yeah, I thought it was up the street from there.
No, there's a really fancy, there was a really like popular, the one that the driver suggested.
Yeah.
That was in Hawaii.
Oh, that was in Hawaii?
That was in Hawaii.
So yeah, he took us from Hoi An to Hawaii. Yeah.
Yeah, and recommended this coffee place.
That was after our very, very long night on the train.
Yeah.
From Ho Chi Minh to Da Nang, and then we just took a grab from Da Nang to Hoi An. But on the train, we didn't know if there was a dining car or not. So in the morning, because we were on the train for what, how long?
17 hours?
17 hours. It was from, 8 p.m. until 1 p.m. the next day. So in the morning, I was like, I had a coffee with me, a bottled coffee. And I thought, oh, these two guys, they went and looked for a dining car, but they got bored and came back after only seeing a few cars. So I thought, I'm going all the way to the end. And I found the dining car, and it was chaos. But I managed to get myself a coffee, black, because the only milk they had was condensed milk. And it was awful.
A lot of this trip, I don't drink coffee, but our other friend traveling with us and Allison love coffee, so this was a very coffee-centric trip.
It was all about trying to find a good cup of coffee.
And probably the most interesting coffee, and probably one of the most interesting meals we had on this entire trip was in...
it was mine! It was my coffee.
But the whole
meal was all three of us.
The whole meal.
But the coffee was
in
mine.
Hanoi.
It was so fun.
And so we did it's a touristy thing, but if you do it at the right time, it doesn't feel as touristy.
Because we did it as soon as the train got into Hanoi, because we couldn't check into our hotel yet. So we left our bags at 6:30 in the morning.
We haven't even told people what it is.
I know. I'm creating some sort of expectation that's going to be really disappointing, I suppose.
Yeah. So basically we did the railroad thing. It's the thing with all the restaurants and everything.
Train Street.
Train Street. And so it's a very touristy thing, I think, a lot of the times. But we were there so early in the morning.
Like 6:30 in the morning.
So everything was closed, except they were starting to sort of open up. And we just ran into this lady that was running this one place. Didn't speak a word of English, but sort of was willing to try and communicate. We could point to things on menus. And so, she said, we could sit down. So we did. And so we thought, let's get a couple of coffees. And Allison tried egg coffee.
And I asked if I could watch her make it.
Yeah, to make sure she wouldn't put any of the
no sugar.
No sugar and stuff. And so they disappeared for like half an hour.
Was it that long?
It felt forever. Like we were sitting.
It was so fun though.
We were worried a train would come and you'd still be in there. And then my camera, because she took my camera with her, my phone, and it was just full of pictures of
the making of the egg coffee.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
Like the coffee itself is
abysmal.
Terrible.
Vietnamese coffee.
It's just terrible. It's just not my taste. It's just
not your cup of tea?
It's not my cup of tea. It's just concentrated, super dark roasted, thick, like over roasted and like unwatered. Oh, and it's so bad. It just tastes like mud. But so when she made the egg coffee, it was really cool because she actually takes an egg. I don't remember if there was a yolk or just the white. And then she puts a little bit of like a flavor syrup in it. So I made her put just a tiny bit because she's like, no, this is like non-negotiable kind of thing. And then she sort of propped it up on a cloth and a hand blender propped on a cloth, and then the little container that she used to whip the egg was like against the something else, and she just let it do that for the longest time, and I thought for sure it was going to explode or something was going to rip apart or not, like some kind of disaster. And then at the end it was so good. So she pours some coffee into it and it sort of mixes it around a little bit, and then the coffee ends up settling on the bottom because it's just so thick and heavy and horrible. But this big sort of meringue, eggy puffy.
With a slight coffee flavor.
With a slight coffee flavor, was on top with a little bit of chocolate powder on it, and it was so good, and it was such a great experience.
And then we, at the same place, I ordered a fried rice because that's a good morning thing to get at a place like that. And
I got an omelet.
I remember watching the lady. She would go into like her kitchen, and then she walked like 5 doors down and walked back, and she had a handful of frozen vegetables that were part of my fried rice. Like she was just like going, like, I don't know how this system works, but eventually we ended up with these like great sort of simple fried eggs and just some fried rice and just simple breakfast. And basically,
and it's because we realized it's like, well, we just got off the train, we need to get breakfast, why not just eat breakfast here?
Yeah.
And we had already missed the scheduled train going by on this train street, which is basically just wide enough for a train.
Yeah.
And so like the little terraces you sit on are kind of sunken behind the tracks.
Yeah, not much.
Not much.
Like you stretch your foot, you're getting hit by a train.
Yeah. So we thought, well, we might as well just get breakfast, and it was really good breakfast.
And then partway through our breakfast,
the train came.
Train came.
It was either late or early, I don't know.
Or another train in the schedule was just wrong.
Yeah, or the schedule was completely wrong.
And then the train came, and we were eating our breakfast with a train whizzing by our table, like inches away from our table.
Yep.
And soot and dirt coming off the train landing in our food. But it was awesome.
It was pretty awesome.
And that was like one of the highlights from our.
Another highlight was the day we went to the caves in Dong Hoi, and had that because we did a tour,
Mm-hmm.
And ended up having a Vietnamese lunch at a restaurant, like just sort of a hole-in-the-wall restaurant. And that was really, really good food.
Yeah, they were really good about...
Almost all of it I could eat.
It's funny because, like, I found that when we went to sort of rural places and you would say no sugar or no that, they didn't put it in.
Yeah.
Where you go to the city...
No fish sauce, whatever.
You go to the city... We couldn't have soy sauce either because, our gluten-free...
gluten-free friend
couldn't do it. So it's like, when you said that, they were like, okay, like, this is what you want. Here you go. And it's like, oh, like, in the rural places. In the cities, it was always a bit of a fight. But in the rural places, it was like, oh, okay, that's...
Well, you get what you want.
Yeah, you of course you want the vegetables because this is,
And I actually had a really good coffee in that place too.
Yeah. And I would say, I mean, Hanoi, we went to a steak place. There was this Paris steak or something that we went to twice at least.
Yeah.
And that was pretty good.
And the Italian place was really good too.
Oh yeah, we went. Was that? Yeah, that was Hanoi too. That was on our second.
I had
time.
the best lamb chops I've ever had.
Better than the ones in Greece?
Those weren't lamb chops. That was roast lamb.
Okay. So yeah, we had some good food. We had some good Italian food. We had some good general food. Like the Vietnamese food was good, but there was also like other good foods. So
you're forgetting your little favorite treat.
I ate a lot of ice cream.
Uh-huh.
I don't remember.
The corn ice cream.
Oh, I've seen that here too.
Have you?
Yeah, I've seen it in a few Southeast Asia. It's the first time I ever got it, but I've had corn ice cream before. But there's these cool little corn ice cream that looks like little things of corn that are kind of fun.
Yeah, and it really tastes like corn.
I don't think it was my favorite thing. I got into it with our traveling partner. We got into this ice cream thing. So every time we'd be walking around, for some reason we'd end up at a convenience store, and we both end up finding weird and wonderful ice creams and enjoy them, and so that was kind of our thing.
You two were so cute.
And on our last day, we were like, let's go get an ice cream, and it was like that. We made it a thing. So that.
I found a drink called salty lychee.
Oh yeah.
Lychee, salty lychee. So good. 0 sugar.
Yeah.
So good. They had another type of drink too, but I just really liked the salty lychee one a lot.
Yeah, that was good. I got this one thing on the street once that had like. It was a candy, and it'll be an episode of 10 Second Kitchen eventually because I've videotaped the woman making it. But she does this on the street. It's like you get like a liquidy candy, like almost a taffy, and then you squeeze it between two wafers with some coconut. And the taffy doesn't have much flavor. I think it's maybe a little vanilla, but you get all the flavor from the coconut and the wafers, and it's really good.
That was the one in Hoi An, right?
No, that was in Hanoi. That was along the lake in Hanoi.
Oh yes, but you did it in Hoi An as well. You did something like because our traveling companion and I got some corn on the cob.
Yeah.
And then.
Oh no, I got a pancake there. I got a crepe.
Oh, it was a pancake.
I got like a Nutella crepe there.
Oh, okay.
So, and then the other thing that we had that was interesting, and we went to the Mekong Delta, and they did coconut candies, and coconut candies are everywhere.
Oh my God, they're so good.
It's like so basic.
I didn't realize that malt was sugar, so I ate some.
But they were good.
And yeah, they were good.
Yeah, but they were.
And I fed a crocodile.
Yeah, speaking of junk food.
Not with the coconut candies.
No, with like a fish.
Fish.
But we went to there's this coconut candy factory, and it was neat because I've done factory tours before, and they generally tend to be either very industrial and you're sort of looking at it through glass, or you're watching them make it but they're not really making the ones they're bagging, they're just sort of doing a sampling of how you might make this by hand. But there it was like legitimately this is where we make it, and you could just kind of wander around it and watch them do it and everything like that.
And the samples were warm.
Yeah, they give you like samples like fresh. And it was.
And they started with the coconut.
Yeah, like they actually like husk the coconut there. Like it goes from like husking a coconut to a candy.
Bashing it open to the whole process.
Like everything in between. So like you talk about like bean to bar in chocolates. This is coconut to candy.
Yeah.
Like and that's it. Like everything there is just done all under the same roof by the same people, and it's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So that was kind of cool, and you got to see them like grind the coconut up and separate the water,
the milk out of it,
and all that kind of stuff. So it was quite cool.
Yeah.
So that was kind of fun. That was
good. And we also had this really weird honey tea with bee pollen.
Yeah, that was weird.
Disgustingness.
It was super sweet.
Our traveling companion really, really hated it.
Yeah.
And I asked if I could just have the tea without the rest of the stuff because of my sugar problem. And everybody around the table was looking at me with like eyes of jealousy.
It was like so sweet because it was a place that sold honey, and so they were really trying to sell their honey. And so what ended up happening was they loaded with so much honey that it was like so sweet your teeth hurt.
Yeah. And bee pollen like in little grains inside the tea and stuff.
And you rub it on your face or something too. I don't know.
Oh no, that was the royal jelly.
Okay.
I put some royal jelly on my jaw. So I could do a comparison. Yeah, I think it's still a little softer on this side than this.
Nice. So I'm trying to think of anything else we did, like particular that was snack wise. Like I said, I had some banh mi. I had some pho.
We had train snacks.
Yeah, we would always have train snacks.
And then we had Sophie Homey burgers. I had burger.
Yeah, there was
the place outside the train station.
Yeah.
In.
There was a lot of like.
Dong Hoi?
That was in.
Yes, that was Dong Hoi.
That was Dong Hoi. So, which is an interesting city, to say the least.
Yeah.
It's an interesting place to visit.
We did okay with restaurants there.
Yeah, we had that other place downtown.
Yeah.
That was pretty good. I got some chocolate in Vietnam, which is some of it's very good and some of it's decidedly average.
The stuff I tried was kind of yucky.
Okay.
The coffee flavored.
Yeah.
Because they don't really make good coffee.
Yeah, it's like we got that early on, so we didn't realize that it was going to be a coffee failure of a trip.
Yeah, it was so bad.
That chocolate wasn't good. It's funny because that was in like a very small, that was in Hoi An, and that was a very sort of small niche coffee place. But then I got this thing called Mr. Viet, which is sort of it isn't like standard cheap chocolate, but it was sort of an average chocolate place. And they had some interesting flavors, some good flavors. And I had one that was dragon fruit in matcha tea flavored chocolate, and it was good. That was like really surprisingly good.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, so I brought it back and shared it with some friends, and they gave me a piece. This is like, I'm glad I'm sharing this with my friends because this was like one of the better, more interesting flavors. So it was like a white chocolate, like it was like a white chocolate with matcha, and then it had dragon fruit in it too.
And one of the snacks that I was looking forward to in Vietnam, which I failed to find, but I solved the mystery of it, was fresh lotus seeds in the seed pod.
Yes.
And they're so good. And the first time I had ever seen them was the first time I went to Vietnam, and it was in the Mekong Delta. And then when we moved to Cambodia, we found them on the street.
All the time. Like it was
all the time. And it was like our regular snack.
Yeah.
And I was so excited to go back to Vietnam, which I thought it was a Vietnamese thing. And then I realized that the Mekong Delta used to be part of Cambodia, and the people who live there still actually speak a dialect of Khmer and not Vietnamese. Like Vietnamese people don't really understand them.
Mm-hmm.
And Cambodia is still a little mad that Vietnam kind of owns what they call Lower Kampuchea. And so I realized that the reason I couldn't find it in Vietnam is because it's not a Vietnamese treat. It's a Cambodian treat.
Yeah.
It's so good.
It is so good. We ended up at the end of our trip at the airport, we had a few bucks to waste. So we got some chocolate covered lotus seeds, and they were okay.
They were okay.
Yeah, I would.
They were dried and crunchy though. They weren't.
Yeah, they seem to put
you
them
can't make it a chocolate with fresh stuff.
No.
So.
Well, you could do like a liquid center type thing, but not to sell
I
at
think
the
it
airport.
would go bad quickly.
It could be okay for like a fine chocolate shop.
Yeah, where you're going to like just take it to somebody's place for dinner and
Yeah.
it's like going to be consumed that day.
But yeah, so we did sort of deal that, but yeah, they didn't have like the fresh ones, and we were kind of. It's weird too because one of the things we remarked was that all of their temples that I can remember had some kind of like lotus decoration, often sort of highlighting the seeds.
Yeah.
And so it's like it was so weird. And then we thought, oh, that's one part of the reason. Like we were going to a bunch of places. Like where are these lotus things? It's all over their temples.
Oh, like I scoured the wet markets and.
Yeah, and then it turns out it was just.
Where were we the day that we went in the rain to that? There was like the grocery store.
Yeah, that was in Dong Hoi.
It was in Dong Hoi.
Wasn't it?
Are you sure
No.
it wasn't in?
Hue. That was Hue.
It was Hue.
It was Hue.
Yeah.
So the market in Hue is kind of fun. If you're going to go to like wet market, there's one in Hue that's quite nice and quite big and quite chaotic.
And it's behind the co-op grocery store.
Yeah, so if you kind of get freaked out by actually buying something, you can go to the co-op store and buy something.
Which is the first place I found the soda that had the salty lychee flavor.
Okay.
That was where I got the first flavor. I can't remember what that was, but because the salty lychee was just so good.
Yeah.
I think it might have been. I think the first one I tried was a cherry blossom flavor.
Okay.
And then I got the salty lychee, and I never looked back after that.
We ate a lot of dried mango, but that's because like.
No, I didn't.
Our friend was kind of, and oh my God, the cashews.
Oh, the nuts there are so good. Why can they get coffee so wrong and nuts so well?
Yeah, there's a lot of nuts, and there was a lot of dried mango between at least two of us.
Two of you. And nuts between me and him.
Yeah, I had a few nuts, but you guys were... So
we were cashew monsters.
Yeah, there'd be jars of cashews everywhere.
Oh, they were so good, though.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Incredible cashews. I think cashews grow there.
Okay. It's possible.
I mean, they grow in Cambodia, so why wouldn't they grow?
Yeah, why wouldn't they grow in Vietnam as well? So.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was good, and and those make for good train snacks. Like that was we did have a lot of sort of train snack, because again, particularly the first train we didn't know if we could get food, and then once we realized you really can't get food. I mean, there are some foods. I think they sell like hot dogs.
There is a dining car.
And there's something that goes up and down the
yeah, they come from the dining car
with like big bowls of slop.
Yeah, like soup and rice.
Yeah, and so. I mean, I'm sure you're not necessarily going to get food poisoning from it, but a train sort of like where you don't want to take that chance.
Yeah. The train was probably the low light of the trip.
I guess.
But I still enjoyed it.
So on the last part of our trip, we did a trip through Halong Bay on a fancy boat.
Yeah.
And we had Amy, who was like the greatest
butler ever.
Yeah, so this was like super fancy. So she like takes care of all your food and everything for you, and
yeah, she's at your service 24/7.
That was crazy. Like
yeah,
but it was so much fun, and we got some. That was
she only had 2 tables.
Yeah.
Like so, she was like our dedicated person for our 2 nights, 3 days there.
And the one thing I like, we stayed at a bunch of hotels. There was always like weird little sort of local desserts. Every hotel would always have like a few local sweets. Like there was some things where it was just rice paper noodles with like nuts on it and stuff like that. Like just weird things like that. So there's always something interesting in every region. And every region, you could really tell the difference between south, north, and middle of Vietnam. Like the food changed drastically in each one of those places. So we really sort of took advantage of that, both just in the food and just like for desserts and snacking. We would definitely sort of go with what was in the area, and it was really good. And the cruise was.
And the farther north you got, the worse the coffee got.
So the boat was awful.
The boat was actually okay.
That's because it was like fancy.
It was really fancy.
Yeah. So yeah, we did the boat, and then we went to the island at one point, and they had a nice little spread of. There's this island in Halong Bay. It's a giant island. Most of the bay is just this one island.
Yeah, there's like little tiny sort of rocks around it.
But it's mostly this. So we went on the island, and at one point we went to this restaurant, and they had some food made in the local, like grown locally and stuff like that, and that was good.
I didn't really have much of it.
I had a little bit of it here. You had some of the greens and stuff like that, I remember.
A little bit.
Yeah, it was fine.
Yeah.
It was good. It was kind of neat to have. It was nice to have, like, the one thing about Vietnamese vegetables, like they stir fry and everything, but there is sort of a certain freshness to a lot of them. Like they were good. I mean, so it was kind of a nice thing to do.
And you and our traveling companion had amazing Vietnamese feast on the boat.
Yeah.
On the ship, on the actual cruise ship.
Yeah, there would be like 9 courses. They just kept giving you food.
Oh my God.
There was a certain point where Allison was like, okay, I can't have any more courses. I'm done.
Yeah. I actually lied to her at one point, and I said, no, I had that course. You don't need to bring it to me.
Yeah.
It was just, wow.
Yeah, I mean, cruise ships.
It was one of those things where Vietnam is developing, but it's still quite rough around the edges. Mm-hmm. This boat was like 5-star luxury. And it's like when I say, when people tell me that people from abroad say they've been to Canada and that they stayed in a hotel that spoke the language they spoke and served the food that they eat in their home country and had a tour guide that was from their country or ski guide or whatever. And I'm like, you haven't been to Canada. You've been to a tiny pocket of your country in Canada. Mm-hmm. And that's how I felt in Halong Bay. It's like we left Vietnam almost.
Yeah, it was sort of a little bit sort of.
We just went real. It was just upscale is upscale no matter where you are.
Yes.
And we were definitely in the upscale at that point.
But by that point, we had been on 2 overnight train rides, a bunch of car rides.
With mattresses made of concrete.
Yeah.
And smelly pillows and covers
and
because they don't wash
on trains
them.
That smash your. So one type, about 3 or 4 in the morning.
Cigarette smoke wafting. I was in the upper bunk.
At about 3 or 4 in the morning, one time the train stopped abruptly and my face smashed into the wall.
Yeah.
So and we drove a lot. We probably had a good 12 hours of driving altogether, at least.
Probably. Well, we took 2 ground transfers.
Yeah, and then there was sort of one from Da Nang to Hoi An too.
Well, it was a grab taxi.
Yeah, but so there was some long, definitely some long trips.
But yeah, the first night on the train was kind of miserable, but at least it was an adventure.
Yeah.
And then the second time we took it, it was just like.
It was just not fun. Fortunately, it was shorter.
Yeah, it was shorter.
So it was okay. Although the unfortunate thing is we got there.
We had to get up at like 4:50 in the morning.
Yeah,
or something.
To get off the train and then hang out and go to our.
Oh, we had a cool breakfast.
Yeah, but the one thing I will say as much as we're selling these train rides, one of the things that a lot of people who travel in Vietnam tend to fly from city to city. Mm-hmm. The trains allowed us not to do that, and because of that, particularly for some of our ground transfers, like when we did the driving, we saw some really cool small stuff that a lot of people don't see. Like we saw the bridge that connected the north and south, and there was virtually no people there.
And visited the tunnels, the dirt tunnels that people lived in to avoid the bombings.
Yeah, and like while we were driving by when we were heading to the bridge, we drive around this thing. There's this big mound of dirt and metal sticking out. And he goes, "That's a tank that's been sitting there since." Like the Americans just left and they just left the tank there, and so they just leave it there.
Yeah.
And so there's stuff like that we saw, and the trains allowed us to do that because we were going from town to town, and so since we stayed on the ground, we were less likely to just sort of jump to the big cities.
Yeah.
We were likely to, and there's a few of the smaller cities like.
And we went to the Marble Mountain.
Yeah, Marble Mountain. I love that. I thought that was beautiful.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of stuff like that, and even some of the stops that we made, we may not have gone. Like Dong Hoi, I don't think we would have gone to.
Probably not.
Otherwise. So it's sort of like we kind of got to do some stuff that we didn't think about doing.
We might have flown, if we were going to fly, we might have done Ho Chi Minh to Da Nang and then Da Nang to Hanoi.
Yeah. And there's a bunch of stuff like crossing that bridge between the from south to north and walking. Like basically we walked across the border.
Yeah.
from
the
South
river
Korea,
at the 17th parallel, I think.
Yeah, from South Korea to not Korea, from South Vietnam to North Vietnam, which was like this hugely disputed spot. We got to walk across that border.
We got a picture of our traveling companion with his feet straddling the line in the middle.
Exactly. So it's like, it's something that had you flown, you wouldn't get to do that, and it's something that the trains, these really horrible train rides, allowed us to do. So it was worth it.
Yeah. And if you're going to travel with somebody that you haven't seen in 25 years, the good way to do it is to agree that if you need space, you just say, I need space, and you go. Yeah. And to take a break every afternoon.
Yeah, that's what we did. Every afternoon we had a little siesta. Have a nap. You can walk if you want. You don't have to.
And it was good. There was no tension at all.
Yeah.
Or at least we didn't notice. Maybe he thought we were.
He's listening to this going, those jerks.
But yeah, it worked out really well.
Yeah.
And it was the first time you'd ever met him,
mm-hmm.
and I hadn't seen him in 25 years.
So it was a good trip. It was one of our better trips.
It was a very good trip.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think we managed it quite well, except the second train ride was really miserable.
But that was like
it was also because our first train ride stopped at the very beginning of the train route,
mm-hmm.
and then the second one, it was like, it had a lot of human interaction, I think, in the areas.
Yeah.
It was really gross.
Yeah, and I feel like we got a newer car.
I don't think I went to the bathroom at all.
Yeah.
On that second train.
You just learned to hold it.
Yeah.
But yeah, but it was a good trip.
It was a good trip, and it was some good food.
Good food, definitely some good food. Interesting. A lot of what I expected.
Fresh bananas, always a pleasure.
Yeah, and the steaks were good.
Steaks were good.
You guys, I didn't have them, but nobody complained.
Yep, the Mexican food was great.
Yep.
I think I actually liked the taqueria in Hoi An the best.
Really?
I mean, I did like the one near our hotel in Ho Chi Minh. It was excellent. It was what we needed. But the taqueria, it was the atmosphere, I think, was it just sort of added.
Yeah, it was nice. Hoi An's a beautiful place, but it's weirdly tourist, like it's overly touristy.
I'm very happy that we spent less than a day there.
Yeah.
We got there.
Although our
like
hotel
early
was
in the
really
afternoon.
nice.
The hotel was quite nice.
So it would have been nice to have 2 nights in that hotel.
True.
So.
But I mean, what do? You go to this sort of downtown sort of market area, you look at the lanterns, you walk around the river. You don't really need more than an afternoon and an evening.
Yeah, that's true. We probably got bored and gone to Da Nang or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, I think that's it.
I think so.
Yeah.
Did the street corn on the cob? Be warned. They butter it with margarine.
Yeah, there's a lot of margarine.
It was kind of gross.
Yeah. There you go. That's your lesson for Vietnam.
Yep.
Try the croissants, not
bad
the corn.
coffee, margarine on the corn.
That's your warnings.
Egg coffee, an experience worth having.
Yeah,
even though the coffee at the very bottom is really gross.
Yeah. So you get like a little top. It's like the icing.
The icing part is really good. All right.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Junk Fud on the Road, where we talked about
Vietnam.
Yay. You can always follow us on all our social medias at candycritic.org. You can find all of them, whatever they are, whatever's popular, whatever people are using. We're probably on it right now. So, and you can also buy books and stuff like that. What is it? Snack Facts.
Blue Orchid.
My comic book Blue Orchid. That's related but not related.
Yeah, but it's you.
Yeah, it's me. So I do a comic book called Blue Orchid. You can find it
on Amazon.
But you can find links to it at candycritic.org.
Excellent.
There's a right at the bottom of the page. There's a link. Take you right to the Blue Orchid page. Buy any issue you like.
It's a Southeast Asian superhero that's a girl.
Look at that.
So ladies.
There you go.
Solidarity.
There you go. So, thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.
Bye.